Bum, 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 bum. Where are we? Where did you go? Where did you go, beautiful intro? Okay, we're just going to do it without our intro. I love technology. It is so challenging. When it works, it's great. And when it doesn't, hey, that's just the way things are. So, good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good looking people. Maybe you're good looking. You're always looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance. You tuned into Marriage with Joy because that's the best way to live in the world. And it's been proven time and time again, first of all, for thousands of years, but even in today's maelstrom of all kinds of stuff happening in the world, marriage is that foundational process that can really enable one to live with calm, with peace, with happiness, and with an eye to the future. So this is our ultimate show for the calendar year called 2023. And I just did a show this morning about the secrets of the calendar and talking about that this is 2023 according to the world commercial calendar, and every other group has its own calendar. Muslims have a calendar, Catholics have a calendar, Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox have a calendar, Jews have a calendar, Chinese have a calendar, Japanese, Koreans, North Koreans have a calendar. You know what the year is, the North Korean calendar? 112. What? 112? Yes, because it dates it from the ascension of Kim Il-jung. And talk about living in a prison. They do, millions of people. That's the thing. The most important thing is it's not that way today. So we're waiting for our amazing, wonderful Lori to round out. Yeah. Okay.
Hey.
Okay, this is Hollywood Squares. And, I never saw the show, but I know it exists. Isn't it amazing how you can plant things in you? But we have here our contestant from the southeastern corner of the country is wonderful Maura Sweeney, and from the far northwest is wonderful Dr. Diane Medved, and in the southwest it's fabulous Lori McDermott, and in the scrub of the desert it's your humble host Barry Shore. And as I said, this is our show for rounding out the calendar year 2023. It is the month of December, and it's the 27th day of the month. And it's an interesting time, by the way. I'm just going to wax a little bit on this because one of the things I talked about today also is that if you ask anybody who knows anything about Latin, what is December? DEC stands for 10, right? Decade. Well, if you ask anybody what month of the year is December, everybody say, well, what are you talking about? It's the 12th month. Well, how come it's called December, which means the 10th month? So I spoke about that today, about why it used to be the 10th month in the Roman calendar. Just it's all fun stuff. Okay, today we are raising our glasses, our flutes of champagne. Yes. Very good. Wow. Maura's going all in. I mean, she's going to chug a lug. And I'm going to begin with this and I'm going to end with it. And I'm going to try and keep my tears back. And I just want to say a deep, endearing, and true thank you to you, Diane, Maura, Lori, for making the time and your precious time and your insights throughout the year and the past couple of years to be here and to share with people. And I can tell you, because I get the emails and the texts and things like that. Actually, not texts, but emails and however people communicate with us in this contraption here. We're touching thousands of lives. Almost all for the good. Some people say you guys are full of it, and so, that's okay. We want that kind of input. It's precious that people actually speak to us. And as we know, if every one person that does something, there's another 100 that don't, that may be thinking about it. So a big round of applause to you. And again, I am deeply honored and touched that we're doing this because it's important. And I want to talk about today, and we're only going to do a short show before we toast to each other and to the new coming calendar year. That I was very struck recently by something that I saw, which I was aware of intellectually, but I needed to go in deeply into me. And that is that people, especially these days, speak about longevity. Everybody wants to live long and, of course, very healthy. And some of the great markers of longevity people think are such things as eating well, diet, which of course does help, exercise, which of course does help, taking the right kind of balance of medications or supplements, things which can help. But those are minimal compared to the greatest marker of all for longevity, which is what they call the 3 C's: community, camaraderie, and companionship. Those are the things, those are the 3 markers that really enable people to live long and in a healthful environment. Okay, are you with us now, Lori?
Yeah, what are they again?
Okay, the 3 C's are camaraderie, however you want to spell it, community, and companionship. Because those are the aspects of life. And again, we're talking about marriage with joy. Marriage, from our perspective, each one of us, we do agree on this. And I think we have most of the audience agreeing that when marriage is foundational with joy and respect, of course, and awareness, we'll call it a jar. How do you like that? Joy, awareness, respect. When that is part and parcel of your very being, then the stresses of life, and they are always there, and especially this year. I mean, let's be blunt. Wars, not just one, wars are raging. People are nervous. There are millions of people demonstrating on the streets for, against, and this, and hate seems to be filling the air. And yet we know, if you read anything in history, okay, it's never been different. It's certainly exacerbated today. It's exponential because of this medium that is called your rectangles. My wife calls it the rectangle. The rectangle makes things seem as if the world is at an end, and we know it's not. And this time of year is the most life-affirming time, whether it's religion, it's Jesus, or it's Hanukkah, or it could be Kwanzaa. It doesn't matter what it's called. There's a time of year where we move from the winter solstice, which is the shortest day in the year, and even though it's now 6 days after that, guess what? There's more daylight. We can see it, we can feel it, we can smell it. Maybe not in the Northwest, but again, but the point is that we as humans we're plants. We orient ourselves towards brightness, to light, towards sunshine, towards growth, and especially here. That this podcast, whatever we want to call this interaction, is all about life-affirming processes. That's a LAP, life-affirming processes. And when we do that, it will all work well. It will. It needs to. It's a law of the universe. Law, by the way, stands for love and wisdom. How do you like that? So, as is our want, WONT, as is our want, we are leadoff batter right there from the great Northwest in Seattle, which is probably overcast and rainy and drizzly and such.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was just guessing, but who knows? It's our wonderful Dr. Diane Medved to just wax eloquent for a bit of time and tell us what you're feeling, what you see, and how you think that these 3 C's of, as we said, companionship and community and such, bring about longevity and also the positive aspect of living.
Wax eloquent. I don't know if I ever wax eloquent, but all I could think of when you said those 3 C's was that they're really one. And what they are is connection. It's camaraderie, community. It's all connection. And people who have the deepest connection, which should be marriage, those are the people who have the most support and the most reason for optimism for the future. Because I know for myself, my husband's steeped in the news, and I read 3 newspapers a day. It's masochism, I know. But the point of that is that it's depressing to look outside. But if you ever need to be bucked up, if you ever need to know where your priorities can stay and where you can make the most difference for an individual in this planet, it's with your spouse. And if you can turn to your spouse who may be feeling as depressed as you are about the newspaper or whatever is going on, and you can say, hey, I'm here for you. I love you. I care about you. I appreciate you. That will change their life in a positive direction. And it will simultaneously do the same thing for you, because expressing those feelings affirms those feelings inside, so that your love and your caring not only emanates outward, but is stronger from the inside. And when your partner responds with a smile or with a hug or with a tear, you then cement this most basic of all relationships, which should be your marriage. And again, marriage can't always be with joy, because the world is not joy all the time. I mean, there is death, there is war, there are all these things going on, but it can be your foundation. And even if it's a time of sadness and trial, you can always know that there's something secure and rooted inside you if you have a good connection with your partner. Moving out from there, if you can then do the same for your children, moving out from there for your neighbors and your family, your more extended family, start from within and move out in the giving, and you will find that you're able to more strongly face all these different challenges that we are all facing. So, I mean, that's my immediate thought.
That was waxing eloquent. Thank you. First of all, a couple of things. You know how wonderful it is that when you hear songs when you're much younger, they stay with you. So I was never a Rolling Stones fan, but they had a great song called Connections. Connections, you can't make those connect. Anyway, it was from 1967, 68. It's a great song, but that's the C. You're right. All those three can be in that one letter, the word connections, and they are crucial. And that's what enables longevity. Now, I will mention also that this week, my word of the week is I urge people to become a pope, apropos of this week. What is a pope? A pope is a person offering positive encouragement, which is what you just said, Diane, about being able to reach out to that other being that is most close to you in your life and helping encourage one another. Yes, doesn't matter that it's gloomy and there's war and this stuff. Okay, but we can encourage one another. So be a pope, person offering positive encouragement. And then you have the sea of connections. Wonderful, Maura. What would you like to add about
I'd love to add. First, I have to tell Diane, yes, that was waxing pretty well. I liked it. All right, so here's my wax for the end of the year.
By the way, isn't that, I never saw the movie, but I think that was the line from, what was it, Karate Kid? Wax on, wax off.
It was.
I never saw it, but you just said wax. So you see, you make these connections. Okay, so.
And I'll have you know a little bit of trivia. One of my friends down here was the original inspiration for the Karate Kid. How about that? And his young years, he looked exactly like him. Enough of that. I want to tell you the three words you gave us: community, camaraderie, and companionship. Diane saw it one way. I looked at it, I had to write it down, and I actually saw it in reverse. Companionship first that we have with our spouses, right? Inside the home, within our marriage, goes into or transforms into a dynamic camaraderie. We take that same sense of companionship and camaraderie and we bring it out into the community. And when you were talking about longevity, and this goes back to everything I think we're about here on this monthly webinar. You say longevity and you're thinking about like the world's future. We are repeatedly taught that somebody in some high position is going to change the world for us. And I've always thought it in the reverse, that the world's future depends upon us. If we keep giving our power, our light, our presence, our influence away, we make no difference. But when we realize it starts in our hearts, in our homes, in our families, and works its way out, we can be world changers. And I want to say just this one thing, because it does go to family, is that you probably know this. We thought we'd have 4 kids, 2 of our own, 2 adopted from other countries. We end up with 1 child. And I left my corporate career in order to be with her, not only to be with her, and I ended up homeschooling her, but also to prepare her for adulthood. And I remember there were various volunteer things I got involved in, some on a national basis, and people wanted more and more of my time. And I remember saying to a number of these other mothers, I said, there's going to come a time when my daughter's grown and I will have all the time I need to go out and save and change the world. I said, right now I have a responsibility at home where I am. And I said, if I can raise 1 child, whatever's been given to me, as an adult who's healthy, happy, can stand on her own 2 feet, and can look me eye to eye as a fellow adult, then I've done my job, and now she could go out and do hers. And I said, a lot of times we do everything in reverse. We want to run out there. We want to blame other people for everything without looking at what's in our own home, starting with companionship, working on what is our camaraderie at home. What's our dynamic? What do we live like? And I know that it is so powerful. It affects us everywhere we go. And more than that, it becomes a light and the positive influence for everyone else that sees us. And if I can just give a little plug to you, or maybe a big plug, Barry, you were thanking us at the beginning of this show. I can speak, I know, for all of us. We thank you every month for including us in this program. We keep coming back because it is such a positive place, right? It's so positive. We enjoy this dynamic. We know we're doing something good. And for every last person that listens, every new person that listens, everybody that could be in a tough place or a challenging place and needs that jolt, that positivity, they know they can come here. And it's that same idea. We are replicating the good things within us for everyone else to incorporate into their own lives, and therefore change the world and create a more positive world to come. That's my waxing.
Well, that was waxing well, I will say, wonderful Maura, the ambassador of happiness. From my perspective and how I was taught when I became more observant in life, Jewishly and spiritually, it is that the ability to change the world is really this world.
Right.
When you can shift your own perspective. And I will speak for one of Diane's great teachers, Rabbi Hannah Teller. He will tell you that is the perspective that's of Judaism, that it's you think you want to change the world. Okay, well, no, I'll change the city. No, I'll change my town. Well, I'll change my family. Hello, hello, self. Make sure that you're there. And I think it speaks to what's happening today with the marches and the angst and the stuff happening all over. It's people frustrated that they are not changing the world because they're not looking at what really could be changed. And I call it wearing a toga. Toga stands for a tsunami of goodness always. You want to do something in life, you start with one. It's the butterfly effect. We all know what the butterfly effect is, right? The butterflies migrate thousands of miles from, let's say, New England down to the Andes Mountains, and millions of butterflies cover the sides of mountains. And wild scientists go and they study how the effect of a butterfly flapping its wings in the Andes affects the movement of air around the world. Well, if that's a butterfly affecting the world, how much more so a human? With our words, with our thoughts, with our deeds. And I'm just glad that you did make that decision to work on what the good Lord gave you and your daughter, and raising her in the 3 H's: happy, healthy, and holy. And the 3H club. And I actually interviewed a family yesterday for a holiday special that I was running, and they live in Cody, Wyoming, and the youngest daughter was the head of the 4-H club. which I was so happy to know that there are still 4-H clubs around, and thriving, apparently. I mean, obviously different than 50 years ago, but still, it's a thing. All right, wonderful, Lori. In the southwest part of the United States of America, which used to be considered wild and now is not, just because it may be more sane than other places in the United States. But talk to us about the 3 C's, about the idea that marriage with joy as the foundation of life really enables people to live calmly, and no matter the turmoil that is surrounding them. And you see turmoil.
I have so much to say about this.
Oh, good.
And Diane knows this. It's, saving a marriage means that, like, if the husband goes off this way or the wife goes off this way, they go out searching for community, camaraderie, and companionship. And they have it at home, but they don't have the tools to fix that, to figure out how to get that, because they haven't figured out how to find it in themselves first, right? And so they go out looking for it. And in the end, they realize it's going to take some work out there. So why look for it and do the work out there when you can have it at home and keep your whole family whole? So I have come to believe community, camaraderie, and companionship can happen inside of a marriage. But I also, in my studies, feel like we need to also make sure we have those in our friends. Because if this one drops dead and we haven't nurtured our other community, pickleball, tennis, swimming, whatever you have, you need like several different groups of communities. And if your husband comes with you to all those communities, even better, because then those people will share in your joy if he goes away. But I'm a firm believer in constantly nurturing those communities. Bridge club, whatever you got. You have little kids, the community of your little kids. I have a girlfriend of mine who doesn't like to socialize. She's not married. She doesn't like to socialize, but she's waiting for some man to come into her living room. And it's like, how's that going to happen? She doesn't have a community. She doesn't have a companionship. She's not doing anything, because if you built out your community a little bit, it makes the marriage even more fuller. Having a church community in covering your marriage, surrounding it like an umbrella, cocooning it, makes your marriage stay safer if it grows inside of the community, inside something bigger. So that's my 2 cents.
And I want, for those who don't know, and I think most people do, but if you're just tuning in for the first time and such, so Lori specifically works with mostly women, some men, but mostly women who are in crisis. That's another C. And the crisis is a crisis of marriage. And most of the time, it's probably because that the marriage, the 2 partners, were not cultivating. There's another C, community, companionship, connections, ultimate connection. Again, the ultimate connection is what I call IP. If you ask anybody who was IP, all depends what business they're in. Some people say intellectual property. Some people will say it's what are the others? The internet protocol. Well, IP really is inner peace. Things have not changed when it comes down to it. Things have not changed from the year 2023 CE to 2023 BCE. It's a span of 4,000 years. And I used this example the other day. You're too young, all of you, but there used to be a television show called The Flintstones.
I remember that.
Okay. You saw it in reruns, right? And there was another show called The Jetsons. Now, if you can see that this is a very interesting idea, because it's today. So what is the ultimate Jetsons idea today? AI. Everybody talks about AI, artificial intelligence. First, we need human intelligence, but let's talk about it. So AI, ChatGPT, that's the Jetsons. And the Flintstones are, people who are, what's the famous thing that Fred and Wilma are using their feet to power a car that has, what do you call it? Stone wheels, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I tried to find the picture, but just juxtapose those 2 things. So what it is that we really live in the world of high tech, but the human condition is still cave people. Human nature is not changing. unless we do what Maura says, unless we do what Diane suggests, unless we do what you're mentioning, Lori, which is you got to go in. You got to open up the rib cage instead of having a surgeon come because somebody's having a heart attack and cutting you open. Go inside gently and deeply and wonderfully. And wow, I can talk to another human being, my husband, my wife, my partner. I can actually bear my being. What a wonderful idea. I mean, I tingle just thinking about it. I only have a few more minutes, but I'll just mention that for me, you use the word nurturing, Lori, and that's how I think of my wife for me, because I'm out there. Let's be blunt. I'm a big voice, and my wife is very, very quiet. It's her culture. She was born and raised in Thailand, and it's also part of her nature. She's a quiet being. So if they say opposites attract, I guess they do. And most of the time she can't stand me, but sometimes she does. And the ability, though, for us to sit together at a table and not have to be chatting away, even for me, that's a very special. I cherish that time. I could just sit there. We could just be. Now, sometimes she even does something which makes me laugh out loud and makes me even cry and I think about it. And she'll read to me something that she's reading. She happens to be reading this All Creatures Great and Small. Those. So apparently there's not just one book, there's 5 volumes. And so every once in a while, she'll just read me 3, 4, 5 pages. And what a treat. Somebody's going to read to you. In this case, my wife reading to me. It's you can't buy that kind of stuff. So as I said, for the people who do tune in, you are privileged, I say, to have Dr. Diane Madved, Maura Sweeney, Lori McDermott, Barry Shore, because together we create something that is, I think, unique on the web. And let's be blunt. There's what do they call it? There's 1.5 billion websites and millions and millions and millions of these things called podcasts. And they talk about all kinds of stuff. But I don't know of any that are really focusing specifically on what we're doing here with marriage and with joy. And as I said, I thank you much. And again, raising our flute of champagne. And what do you have, Laura? You have chapstick? Your flute of champagne, Dom Perignon from 1938, and a toast to each one of you, to each one of us, and may the coming calendar year be less contentious and less fraught with danger and hatred, and yes, more inner peace and more joy, more happiness and love in the world. And that light should push away the darkness. As one of my teachers said recently, the only reason that the forces of darkness are raging right now is because the forces of light have become so strong. And we're, by definition, light pushes aside darkness. So we win. Enjoy. So on that happy note, a toast to all of us. And again, thank you so much for being you and being here. And I don't know where our music went to, but it's there in the ether. And enjoy. Go forth. Live exuberantly. Well, I'm sorry. Let's do our hug. Are you ready for our hug? Remember, heartfelt, unlimited, giving. 1, 2, 3. Go for it. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Best wishes. Bye.
See you. Bye.